Good evening, and welcome to SlushHeap, Season 2, Episode 1. We're going to try this again. Tonight's subject matter is writing love stories. Since we're not too sure what our audience is, we're going to try to keep it PG-13 so that nobody can write into us or Google and complain about us. So, at this moment, and by the way, my name is Rudy Fisher. And at this moment, I would like to introduce my co-host, Darcy. Darcy, take it away.
Good evening. Welcome to Season 2. Pretty exciting night tonight. After a decent first season, we're ready to get on air again and prove that we can do it even better. And we've recruited 2 people to help us tonight. Of course, Rudy's with me, and next to him is the ever-lovely Harlan Smith. And for anyone that doesn't know Harlan, Harlan is a writer and watercolorist and also quite the comedian. So we look forward to hearing from him quite a bit tonight. And beside him is only the picture, unfortunately, but the voice behind the picture is Carrie Butler, author, romance author, and, well, I'm going to say entrepreneur because she started a couple websites, and she also owns a publishing company where she does, or I'm sorry, not publishing, design company. She does book design, book cover designs, and graphics for the web and stuff like that. So I will let her tell more about that in a little bit. But we'd really like to welcome everyone tonight, and we really look forward to talking all about love. So, Rudy, would you like to kick it off at all?
Yeah, you know, and I get to start. I'll start with Harlan and get that out of the way. That way it'll get us a little more time. I was very fortunate enough this past weekend to watch a show after the fact, not live, and Harlan was part of it. And the subject matter was writing romance novels. And Harlan made a statement that he loves writing about romance, but not about the act itself. So, you know, Harlan, you got to explain yourself. You like romance novels and you write them, but I guess you keep them on the mild side, the way we like it.
Well, I have to correct you, Rudy. I write more about romance than I do about love scenes.
Aha, okay.
I have no biases, conscious biases, regarding the act. I should make that clear.
We were concerned.
So, I mean, you know what? Not ever having seen one of your romance novels, have you published any?
I haven't written any romance novels. I write paranormal books with a standard plot.
Okay.
And in some of them, there is romance. In one of the books, there is romance, and in one of the short stories, which is a separate book, there is a situation of romance. But in terms of love scenes, I write more a romantic scene. Telling the reader that your couple is kissing or embracing or whatever they're doing, to me is irrelevant. It doesn't make any sense to me to do that. I'm telling a story, and romance is incidental to it. So I'm not writing a romance novel. So you see what I'm saying? If I were writing a romance novel, I would be almost required to write love scenes.
But in this case, it's just a very small part of the plot itself.
Yeah, well, every scene is a romantic scene between the male and female principal.
Okay.
Because that's what that subplot is all about.
Okay.
He hasn't seen her for years, and he's loved her all those years, and he's trying to get her back, and he tries to use ritual and magic to do it, and he completely screws it up. And all along the way, the person he's telling a story to, which is the book, is remarking to the reader that this guy is an idiot. He's a professor at UCLA, and he is the dumbest man with regard to women I've ever seen in my life. So we get a description. The guy's intelligent, and he's pretty much a hero and adventurous. But at the same time, he's a complete flop with women. and he needs to tell the story to the guy because he's going to use the guy's emotional content by getting him really mad and frustrated to change the end of what actually happened between him and this woman. And that's the way he brings this woman into being, by changing the scene that took place weeks ago. But he has to get the guy telling the story has to get him very mad to do it.
Okay, I have to ask this question. What do you draw on when you write a scene like that? Is it personal experience, personal background, just the imagination running wild, or what exactly gives you that moment that you're writing about? Or do you even think about it, or you just put words down?
No, I do think about it. In this particular sense, I am the person in the story. You can tell by the description.
Yes, so that's why I was asking it.
My name is Robert in the story, which is my name. So it's all me telling this story, telling Willard what I tell him. And what I tell him, the content of that, has to do with romance.
Okay.
And I'm not going to go into detail telling this guy about behavior between me and the woman. I'm just going to tell him how much I loved her and what I did to get her back, and how I goofed up every time I met with her. That's sort of a situation there. So you get a
Okay, so that explains it. Okay.
You get a minimal description of the woman with a maximum description of the man, which makes it a bit difficult to be romantic with them because you don't really know her character, except by the way she treats him.
Okay.
And you don't know his until you realize how he responds to her treatment. The scenes I write about them are romance scenes.
Okay.
But they're not love scenes.
Okay.
Now, what about? No, that's okay. I was just.
I took the long way around to get to that, but you had to understand. I'm sorry, excuse me. You had to understand the subplot, get the idea of what is a love scene and what is a romance scene.
No, I completely agree, and I think that one of the things that made me laugh a little, Harlan, is I looked at your website and on which you describe the fact that you write for women and why you write for women, or to women, I guess you should say, and yet you say that you're not a big romance writer, or that you don't include a lot of love scenes or romance in your books. And yet there's this big stereotype that that's what women want to read. Do you find that that's the case, that women wish there was more in there?
No, I'm not. I am no more concerned with what my reader wants than I am with how I wrote it.
Okay.
What I want to write.
Okay.
I write addressing women. Excuse me again. I write addressing women, but not a total women's content. They're just who I'm telling the story to, no woman in particular. I'm just telling my story to women and not men.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, Harlan, you don't want to write the love scenes, but when you read one, how far do you think it should go before it's too much?
Well, I was thinking about that. You must take a look at your demographic and your genre. Are you writing romance? Are you writing erotica? Or are you writing paranormal? All right, paranormal is fine. It's kind of the psycho-emotional setting for the whole story. If you're going to throw romance in, that's likely. But if you wanna go deep enough, are you asking how deep do you go to make it effective or effective?
Well, I think, here, let me reword my question. I've read books where the author is obviously afraid to say too much. Like they get uncomfortable very easily. That's the feeling you get from them. I mean, you'll get a kiss, and there's kind of the hint that something's going to happen, but then they completely shy away from it. And you kind of lose the moment because of that. Yet I've read on the other end where it goes so far that you become uncomfortable as the reader. So I guess the question is, what would you tell a new author that's writing a book that wants to touch a little bit on that because it's a romance without it going into erotica? So how far would you suggest you go, or how would you write that scene in order to make it effective?
I'd tell him to write it well, however, whatever depth he chose. Write it well.
Okay.
You don't have to be crude.
Never having written one, I would say when you turn the lights out, I would stop.
That's when you start.
That's a good tip.
If you can't see what's happening, the reader shouldn't either, right?
That's right. They shouldn't be there either. That's why I have my night vision goggles.
Now, I have a question for you. You started New Adult Alley, NAAlley.com, and so obviously that would be your focus is writing to that, well, not necessarily to that age group, but about that age group.
Right.
Do you think that it's easier to write romance novels and paranormal to that age group than it would be to write it to someone older?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that, you know, during those sort of, I don't want to call them like experimental years, but, you know, the years where you're just kind of finding your freedom and trying to figure out who you are as a person is a good time that you can, you know, incorporate those other elements in while they're still, you know, exploring things.
Right.
Harlan, you remember those days, don't you?
Several. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhat. There was a lot of paranormal stuff happening, but we're not sure if it was really happening, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I have a follow-up question actually. Both of you write to women, or your main audience is women. Do you think automatically romance sort of signifies the fact that it's going to be women, or is there romance written for men? And if you're going to do that, how would you do it? How would it differ?
Who are you talking to?
Well, we'll start with you, Harlan. I'm sorry. Start with you.
I write G+ for people who would read G+. If you're more adventurous of the mind, what I'm writing is pretty erotic. It depends on your maturity, your capacity to grasp a concept at a particular level. A 9th grader could read my book, if he could read, and it would be okay. And someone who was my age could read that book, and it would be okay. It doesn't go over the top with regard to anything. An adult knows, a mature person knows what you're talking about, and there's a lot of history to enforce what he knows. But a younger person, a 9-year-old, does not.
Okay.
But he can still grasp the concept. That's particular on.
Your work do you think it's done from a man's point of view, even though it is for women in a sense a little bit, but it's a man's point of view, not a woman's point of view?
Well, it's written by a man, and it is doomed to a man's point of view. It's doomed to his version of a woman's point of view as well, when I have dialogue between the two women in that book.
Okay.
What goes on between those two women is something that I think a lot of women have in common, and that's what happens to their feeling nature when they've been friends all through high school, and one of them sides up with a man and gets more involved in his culture than she is in the culture of these two women's friendship. So there's a separation there that one of the women has to deal with. And the other woman knows about it, but she has to make a choice. Is she going to be with a man she loves, or is she just going to be with her best friend? It's hard for her to break up her time. And the separation that tends to occur there, you experience just from years passing in high school people that you knew. You realize you get farther and farther away. And that's what's happening between these two women. Now, if I had more of my feminine side within my conscious awareness, I could probably do that really well. But I have no way to measure how much of my feminine side is available to that kind of writing. So I just do the best I can.
No, that's that way. But at this moment, what I'd like to do is actually give you a little plug. Both of your books, and we didn't even mention the titles of them. If you would do that, and where they are available. Either one want to start? I don't care.
Go ahead, Harlan.
Harlan, you want to start?
I'm a little confused about the question. I don't get the question. I'm sorry.
Where can we go? Where can we go and buy your books?
Oh, anywhere.
That's the simplest one.
Any kind of device you have, whatever vendor that device is keyed to, that's where you can go for. Or you can go on Amazon.
So all of yours are ebooks?
Yeah, I've got 3 so far, 3 paperback.
Okay.
And with Amazon.
Okay.
So the best place would be to go for my work is on Amazon.
Okay. And
what are the names, Harlan?
The titles?
I'm sorry?
The titles?
Oh, the titles are Alice in Wonderland, which is one of the books we were just talking about. The other is Robert's Choice, which is the book we were talking about.
Okay.
There's a book of short stories, 5 short stories about women. It's called Weird Tales. And there's another book called Robin of Tudor Gables. It's not paranormal. It's a story about an 8-year-old boy growing up in the tenements, post-World War II Chicago on the South Side. And he realizes he's on his own. He thinks the adults are crazy. He thinks they're crazy, there's no hope for them. And what goes on in the story reinforces his view of the world. In the meantime, he's amusing himself with the reality of movies. He likes movies. He likes to say and do things the way movie stars do. He shows them what he can do, what he can be. And that's probably, I would say, my flagship book. It's told in scenes rather than a narration of chapter by chapter. And there's probably 100 particular scenes or episodic events, if you might want to use that. They're descriptive of the characters, of the situation, of the times, everything. They're like short fictional essays, adventures, events that take place in this little boy's life and what he sees living his life, including a murder and a rape and a few other things. In his response to all that, the grown-ups are crazy. And I would suggest that if anyone asked me what book of yours should I read first, I'd say read that one first.
Okay.
So those are the 4 books I have. Robin of Tudor Gables, mainstream fiction, to Robert's Choice, which is paranormal, Alice in Wonderland, which is paranormal, and the short stories, which are all paranormal.
Okay.
And what about you, Harlan? What's the one piece of advice you'd offer?
Mine would be more fundamental than that. Use spell check.
That is an excellent piece.
Know how to write a proper sentence and a proper paragraph. And realize the difference between you and an editor is that an editor is reading the now of your sentence and what it's supposed to mean in the context of the paragraph. You're writing that same sentence as a writer in the now of an entire world, an entire fantasy concept. If you as the writer write, you know what the next word in each sentence is going to be, and you're likely to drop a word and make a line editor error. And when you come to that sentence, you're going to have the same mindset you had when you wrote it, and you're going to read over that error easily. A skilled line editor won't do that. They're reading in the now of that sentence while you were reading in the concept of that sentence.
Okay.
If it's a cliche or if it's some common sentence that everyone would use and everyone knows eventually how it's going to end, a line editor can miss it too. Even a casual reader can miss it. I think it's a responsibility of a writer to himself to know that distinction, know the difference between he and an editor is, and learn it. Be able to do what an editor does as well as you learn to write. And you'll save yourself a lot of time. You won't be sending junk to an editor. And you'll be saving the money because the editor won't charge you so much to clean up the mess you sent them. Learn to edit your own work and work as hard at it as you do in writing your work. Produce a quality paper, produce a quality story, and save yourself a lot of trouble with editors. That's what I would tell a beginning writer again and again and again.
Is that true for you, Harlan? Do you read the sort of material that you would write?
Yeah, I do. I read a lot of metaphysics, and I write a lot of metaphysics. To get back to writing dialogue, though, the dialogue that I write in Chase's or Robert's Choice book I've been talking about all along are scenes of the male and female principal in constant contrast. He does everything to repel her without even realizing it. She kicks him out of the house. There's a conflict going on there, and I still regard it as a love scene. You wonder at the end of the story how it ever happened. How the ending.
Would that be love-hate?
No, it's not love-hate. They both love each other, but they have opposing ideals, and she can't live that way, and he can't live her way.
Okay.
So the dialogue is not one of a communication that binds them together, as she mentioned. It's one that separates them. It's part of the conflict in the whole book. You're so curious about how's he going to screw up again, and is he ever going to make it with her? That becomes a major question in your mind as you read about those two characters. So the communication I have with my dialogue in the romantic scenes is one of conflict, even though I can see the value, of course, of a bonding that the reader wants to see, and you're going for the happy ending. Well, I don't go for the happy ending, but I get it anyway. That's part of the metaphysics of the book. I write about very ordinary people who have extraordinary abilities. So I don't have a plot of non-human characters. I don't have a cast of non-human characters like superhuman strength. I have superhuman ability, like ESP, things like that. But in a different way, in a twist. It's not complete ESP. It's too common for me. I don't want to use that. But the dialogue is important in those scenes. I would tell any beginning writer of dialogue to listen to other people talk. People aren't always getting along, and don't turn off because of that. Absorb it. It's valuable to you to see how people fight. You know, it's very, very important. And what's amazing about people fighting is they're bonding. So it's okay for your two love interests to have conflicts and things that separate them. It's like the hero who has to achieve a goal, and everything on earth gets in as a way to achieve a goal. But that happens to your love interest as well. Do it with dialogue.
I think that's an excellent point. I think that especially the point about, you know, mimic reality. How would two people discuss something in reality, and it shouldn't be horribly different in a book. I like that.
Darcy, I would be, I would feel bad if I didn't bring this up, but you have written a novel. Was that a romance novel? Investing Undressed?
Yeah. It was. Well, yes. The romance. There was romance in it, and there were certainly love scenes in it. But it was really a growth story, a story of growth, so to speak.
But how does what you just heard tonight? How does that kind of fit into what you wrote? Do you think it's? Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I agree. Like I said, I really think that a lot of writers make the mistake of trying to try to make writing too pretty, I guess is the way I'd say it. I mean, when you have a love story and there's not, like Harlan said, there's never any arguing, or there's, they're both perfect looking and they both, have these perfect personalities, and, it's so false that it reads fake, and it's not enjoyable, and it becomes cheesy. And I think that that's what people think of when they think of romance, and that's why it gets that poor image. But I think that romance can be very, the best romances are the ones that are realistic, that have a little bit of reality in them. The character, like I said, I loved hers because she didn't immediately start off with these two people, having this great bond. It wasn't like that. It was, like any other two people meeting, there's going to be those awkward moments and those, not understanding each other and misreading each other. I think that's what makes romance great,
But, right, Harlan?
I don't think you should go so far to describe your characters, romance or not, with regards to a very positive image, being very handsome or very pretty or cute.
I don't think Carrie uses those words.
No, let your reader describe the character. If the reader wants a handsome character or a beautiful character, that's what they'll see. Let them see what they want to see, and leave the description to them. Save you a lot of trouble.
Well, yeah, actually that was a topic that was brought up on Google+. You might have even been part of the conversation, I can't remember, but about the gray blob. Should your character be a gray blob? And I think it's a great question. I mean, because there really are books that go far too deep into describing a character where you almost lose the character because of it. But is it too little to not really mention what they look like at all?
No, it's not. There was a short story. I can't recall which one it was, and the only thing we knew or saw of the character, the female, was that she wore a straw hat. That's all you got. And what I'm trying.
I like her already.
Catherine Hepburn, right? What you do is let your reader. His job, her job, is to see the character. Your job is just to write the character. Do your job, the reader will do their job. If they want a handsome couple, that's what they'll get. If they want a couple that looks like them, that's the way they'll see it. If they worship a handsomer looking couple, then that's what they'll get when they
Okay.
read the book. It depends on how they want to see it, and you have to allow them that vision. So if you go into describing her beautiful blonde locks or kissable lips or eyes like almonds, eyes like peanuts,
See, now he's getting into it.
there's no point in doing that because you're leaning on your reader. Don't lean on your reader. Let them make the description and determine the quality of their looks. You'll be much better off. Your reader needs to do a little work too.
Well, not to argue with you, but I'm going to argue with you. No, I think that there's a time and a place when, for instance, in Carrie's book, I don't want to give away too much, Carrie, so I won't say too much.
It's been out
But,
for a while.
yeah, she has an image of what this guy's going to look like in her head, so you kind of get the picture of what she thinks this guy's going to look like. To not describe him then would, lose that whole feeling, and it would almost kind of do away with a little bit of the mystery.
What? And I bet you when I get Harlan's works and read them, there's a little bit of description in there too. He just doesn't want to give it up quite, because if it's really based on him, then we don't want to have the vision we see tonight when we read his book. We want to make it up and make him look like Prince Valiant, the character in the book, not like Robin Hood, Right?
I would relate more to Robin Hood.
What's that?
I would relate more to Robin Hood.
Absolutely. Honest to God, you do seem that way, because I think, and that's what I'm saying. I'm really anxious. That's why I wanted to know where your books are available, because I'm going to make it my duty to go get these and read them, and someday we're going to sit down again and we're going to go over them. I might have some questions again on them. And I'll definitely look for the love scenes, So
I'm going to look for the description, Harlan.
What's that?
I'm going to look for the description.
Oh, yeah, for the description, right? Exactly. Well, it looks like. Go ahead.
I use description to make one of the women very attractive to this particular character, and that's as erotic as it gets. And she's designed to be a temptress, so he suffers for it. And you'd probably like that book. Really, you'll probably like that one.
Are there any pictures in it?
No.
No. Okay. Good.
No,
So
I'm just picking on you, Harlan. I just think that there's a fine line between too little and too much when it comes to describing someone. I think that you say tall, dark, and handsome, and what I picture and what you picture are going to be two different things, for instance.
Well, the only way I describe this one girl who tempts this character is by describing her bikini.
Oh, okay. That'll work for me.
And you get a pretty good idea about her character and her physique and everything else in this simple description of a bikini and how it affects him. Otherwise, you don't know what she looks like. You have no idea what she looks like. You have an idea of her age and her attitude, but that's all the description you get. The reader puts all that together. And once the reader gets a load of that bikini and how she's put together, there's some added description there, but that's all you get. Then there's an emotional picture when, as I said, the two girlfriends part because one goes off with a guy. She's the one who's left alone, so you get another description of her, but it's psycho-emotional. It's not physical. It doesn't interfere with the reader's concept of what the character looks like.
So if this story came out of your life, there is a woman out there that wears a bikini that's available right now for me?
She's probably available, but she's probably 74 years old.
But I'm almost there.
I don't think you want to wake up to that in the morning, really.
Don't tell me she has blue hair.
You have to read the book.
You see, that's right. I knew he was going to come up with that.
Good selling.
Well,